She thought she was chosen for love. But under the full moon, she discovered she was chosen for sacrifice. Welcome to African Folktale by Prince. Subscribe and join the family of storytellers. The moon sat high above the whispering trees, casting silver light over the village of Amira. All slept in peace, except Luma, the chief's daughter. Her heart beat too fast to rest. That night, she saw her groom, Ter, leave his hut quietly, his shadow slipping past the granary. The wedding was only 3 nights away, yet something in her spirit stirred uneasily. Luma wrapped herself in a dark cloth, tied her head with a simple scarf, and followed him, keeping to the edges of the path where shadows hid her. She had always trusted her intuition. It was a gift from her grandmother, but tonight that gift filled her with dread. Ter walked swiftly, never once looking back. His father, Doro, joined him at the edge of the village. The 2 men spoke in low voices, their words carried by the night wind. "Are you certain she suspects nothing?" Doro asked. "She asks questions," Ter replied quietly. "She is curious, but she does not know." Doro's voice hardened. "Then keep her blind. 3 nights after the ceremony, it must be done. The curse allows no delay." Luma froze behind a tree, her hands trembling. "Curse? What curse?" Ter's voice shook. "Father, there must be another way. She is innocent." Doro's tone grew fierce. "You know the law of our blood. If you fail, death will take you before the next moon. Would you let our lineage die?" "But she will die," Ter whispered. "She will be bound to the grove forever." Doro's reply came like a hiss. "Then love her enough to live 3 more nights. Once the ritual is done, you'll be free." Luma covered her mouth to keep from gasping. The man she was to marry, the man who spoke so tenderly, who listened to her stories, was part of something dark. Her mind raced. A curse? A sacrifice? The Forbidden Grove was no place for humans. Elders had said the spirits there still walked. But she needed the truth. She turned back to her friend, Nika, who waited at her hut. "He's going into the grove," Luma whispered. "I must follow him." Nika's eyes widened. "Luma, the grove is death. No one enters and returns." Luma gripped her hand. "Then if I do not return by dawn, tell my father everything." The night deepened as Luma slipped into the forest. The air grew colder, the silence heavier. The trees twisted into strange shapes, their roots like sleeping beasts. She followed Ter's lantern until its light disappeared among the shadows. Still, she pressed on, her breath shallow. At last, she saw them. Dozens of figures gathered around an ancient tree black as midnight, its bark covered in glowing marks. Her blood ran cold. The same symbols were on Ter's amulet. Luma crouched behind a thick bush, her heart pounding so loudly she feared the spirits would hear it. The people around the tree wore dark robes and strange pendants that glimmered in the moonlight. Their faces were pale with ash, their eyes glowing faintly. At the center stood a tall, old woman draped in bones and feathers. Her staff was carved from twisted wood, and when she struck it against the ground, the chanting ceased. "Brothers and sisters of the bound bloodline," she declared, her voice echoing through the clearing, "we gather under the moon of reckoning. The curse must be satisfied." Ter stepped forward, trembling. He removed his amulet, and in an instant his skin turned gray, cracked like dry earth. Faint yellow light flickered in his eyes. Luma's breath caught. She bit her fist to keep from crying out. The old woman, Mother Eba, raised her staff higher. "You see the mark of the cursed," she said. "Without the amulet, the spirit's decay claims him. Only the binding of innocence can cleanse it." Doro bowed before her. "My son is ready, Mother Eba. The innocent bride has been chosen, a chief's daughter, pure and unknowing. In 3 nights, she will speak the words of acceptance, and my son shall live." A murmur spread through the crowd. One man asked, "And the bride?" Doro's voice held pride and cruelty. "She will never leave this grove. Her soul will serve the curse as others before her." All eyes turned to Ter. "Are you prepared?" Mother Eba asked. Ter's head bowed. "I will do what must be done," he said, but his voice wavered like a leaf in the wind. Luma's eyes burned with tears. The man she loved planned to bind her to death, but his pain was real. He looked like a prisoner, not a predator. Before Mother EBA could continue, a figure stepped from the shadows. Enough! A woman's voice rang through the grove. All turned to see her, thin, graceful, with fire in her eyes. EBA, she said coldly. You banished me once, but I returned to speak truth. Doro staggered back. No, you were dead. The woman lifted her chin. Dead in your stories, Doro. Banished for knowing too much. I am Luma's Groom's mother. I am Nao, the wife you cast away, and I bring the truth you fear. Gasps filled the clearing. Even Tear dropped to his knees. Mother, he whispered, trembling. You live. Nao reached for him, her voice breaking. Yes, my son. They lied to you, as they lied to every man in our bloodline. They say the curse can only be broken by sacrificing an innocent. But there is another way, the way the spirits themselves wrote in the oldest text. The man must confess all to his bride. He must give her choice. If she accepts him willingly, knowing all, the curse ends forever. No sacrifice, no death, no more trapped souls. The grove erupted like thunder. Some cried out in disbelief. Others shouted for silence. Doro's face twisted in rage. Lies, he roared. The woman is mad. The curse cannot be broken by words. But Nao stood firm. It can, she said. If love is true and the heart pure, the curse dissolves. Fear keeps you blind, Doro. For generations you've killed the innocent to protect your pride. Tear turned to his father, eyes wide with pain. You knew? He asked. You knew there was another way, and said nothing? Doro's voice broke with fury. It doesn't work. No woman would ever choose this fate. Only through innocence does the ritual succeed. Would you risk the bloodline for a foolish hope? Tear took a step toward him. Then let it end with me, he said quietly. I won't sacrifice Luma. I won't condemn her as you condemned my mother. His father lunged forward. You'll die in 3 nights. The curse will devour you. Then I'll die as a man, Tear answered, not a monster. Mother EBA struck her staff against the ground, sending a deep echo through the trees. Enough, she said. Nao speaks truth. It is written. The willing binding has never been performed. None have dared to test love against fear. Perhaps it works. Perhaps it kills. We do not know. Her eyes fell upon Tear, pity softening her tone. Your choice will determine your fate. But time grows short. Tear bowed his head, shame and sorrow consuming him. Luma had heard enough. She stumbled backward, the leaves rustling beneath her feet. Someone turned, but she was already running. The forest blurred past, roots, stones, shadows. Her chest burned with terror and heartbreak. She burst from the grove and didn't stop until she reached Nika's hut. Nika caught her as she fell inside, gasping for breath. Luma, by the gods, what happened? Luma clung to her friend, trembling. He's cursed, Nika. All of them are. And I was never chosen for love. I was chosen to die. Nika's face paled. No, what will you do? Luma stared into the darkness, her tears drying on her cheeks. I don't know yet, she whispered. But I must face him. I must face them all. If I stay silent, I die a victim. If I speak, maybe I live with truth. The first light of dawn crept through the thatch roof. When the sun rises, Loomis said softly, the wedding will still come. But this time, it will not be what they expect. Morning came with songs and drumbeats that echoed through Amira village. The compound of Chief Nami, Luma's father, was bright with colors, woven cloths, baskets of yam, jars of palm wine, and guests dressed in coral and gold. The air smelled of roasted goat and shea butter. Luma sat before the women who prepared her for marriage. They rubbed her skin with oil, arranged coral beads in her hair, and praised her beauty. But inside, Luma's heart was quiet and cold. She remembered Tear's trembling voice in the grove, the word innocence echoing like thunder in her mind. Nika leaned close as she adjusted the head tie. You still mean to go through with this? She whispered. Luma nodded slowly. Yes, she said, but not the way they expect. The truth must be spoken before all. I will not walk into darkness without light. Outside, the drums quickened. The groom was arriving. Villagers cheered as Ter stepped into the compound, wearing white wrappers and golden beads. His father, Doro, followed behind him, proud but tense. Only Luma noticed the fear behind Ter's eyes. The ceremony began. Elders poured libations and blessed the kola nuts. Gifts were exchanged, and the people danced with joy. When it was time for Luma to be presented, the air fell still. She walked toward Ter, her steps graceful and slow. Every eye followed her. When she stopped before him, he looked at her as though seeing a spirit, her face calm, her gaze knowing. The chief priest asked, Luma, daughter of Chief Nami, do you come freely to join with Ter, son of Doro? I do, she said softly. The priest nodded. And do you accept Ter as your husband? The words hung in the air. Luma took a breath. Before I answer, she said, I have questions for my intended. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Chief Nami raised his hand. My daughter has the right to speak. Let her be heard. Luma turned to Ter. Do you love me? She asked. His voice broke. Yes, more than my own life. Would you ever harm me? She pressed. Never, he said. I swear it. Then, she said, her voice clear as the bell of dawn. Tell everyone here about your mother. Tell them about the curse and the choice I must make. Silence struck the compound like lightning. Doro leapt to his feet, shouting no. You'll destroy him, but the guards held him back. Ter's face turned pale. You know, he whispered. I followed you, she replied. I saw everything. Chief Nami's voice thundered. What is this madness? Luma lifted her chin. It is truth. And today, the truth will speak louder than fear. The compound fell silent. Even the drums stopped, as if the spirits themselves were listening. All eyes turned to Ter. He looked at Luma, then at the crowd, then at his trembling hands. She speaks the truth, he said finally. A wave of gasps followed. There is a curse on my bloodline, he continued. 3 generations ago, our ancestor offended the spirits by cutting down a sacred tree. Since then, every son must marry before his 25th harvest, or death will claim him. To live, he must bind himself to an innocent woman, one who knows nothing of the curse. When she speaks the binding words, her soul becomes trapped between worlds, and the man lives free. The villagers shouted in shock and anger. Abomination, cried one elder. Witchcraft, yelled another. Doro tried to rush forward, but Chief Nami's guards held him fast. You deceived my daughter, the chief roared. You came into my house with lies. Ter bowed his head. Yes, I did. That was my father's plan. But when I learned the truth, I could not do it. I love Luma. I would rather die than see her trapped forever. Luma's eyes filled with tears. She turned to her father. He was meant to trick me, but he didn't. I followed him. I saw his struggle. He chose to face death instead of sacrificing me. And I will not let his courage end in darkness. Chief Nami looked at her, torn between fury and fear. You would still defend him after this? Yes, she said firmly, because I have learned that truth can heal what lies have broken. Doro shouted again, his voice desperate. You fool! You doom us all. The curse will take him and me and every man of our line. Luma faced him calmly. There is another way, she said. His mother spoke of it. If a woman chooses willingly, knowing the truth, the curse breaks forever. Not through blood, but through love. The elders murmured. Mother Eba, who had stood silently at the edge of the crowd, stepped forward. She speaks truth, the old woman said. It is written in the oldest scrolls, but has never been done. No woman who knew ever chose to stay. Luma raised her head proudly. Then tonight I will choose, she said. I will go to the grove and face the spirits myself. Nika cried out, No, Luma, you could die. Luma turned to her. Or I could free an entire bloodline from darkness. The villagers began to murmur again, some in awe, some in fear. Chief Nami looked at his daughter for a long moment, then nodded slowly. If you are determined, he said, then go with the strength of your ancestors. But you will not go alone. That night, the moon rose full and bright over the forest. A procession moved through the trees. Luma in white cloth, Ter beside her, his amulet hanging loose around his neck. Behind them walked Chief Nami, Nika, Mother Eba, and Nao, Tear's long-banished mother. The cursed families followed, silent and trembling. The air was heavy with magic. Fireflies drifted like sparks of gold as they entered the forbidden grove. The black tree loomed ahead, its carved marks glowing faintly in the moonlight. Mother Eba lifted her staff. "We stand in a place between worlds," she said solemnly. "Here, truth and deceit weigh the same until the heart tips the balance." She turned to Luma. "Child, you know what this means. If you fail, your soul may wander forever. If you succeed, the curse will end." Luma nodded. "I understand." Tear took her hand. "You don't have to do this," he whispered. "Let me face it alone." She shook her head gently. "You once said love is knowing and choosing. Now I choose with full knowledge." Mother Eba gave a low chant, and the grove stirred as if breathing. The ground shimmered with faint light. "Remove the amulet," she said. Tear obeyed. His skin cracked again, gray lines spreading across his face, but Luma did not flinch. She stepped closer and placed the amulet at the tree's root. "Now speak," Mother Eba commanded. Luma's voice was clear. "I accept the curse freely. I bind myself knowingly. Let my choice break what fear created. Let love transform what lies sustained." The symbols on the tree blazed to life. A whirlwind of light surrounded them. The villagers fell to their knees. Luma felt herself lifted from the ground, her spirit pulled toward the sky. She heard the voices of the spirits, many voices speaking as one. "Daughter of man, you come willingly?" they asked. "I come willingly," she answered. "You give what others took by force." "Yes," she whispered. "You offer love in place of fear?" "I do." The air shimmered brighter until all the grove became a storm of light. Deep living silence. The voices spoke again, softer now. "For 3 generations, your kind sent unwilling souls to us, bound in lies. But you come in truth. The willing cannot be trapped. A heart that chooses freely becomes a mirror, not a vessel. What enters is reflected, not contained." The light grew warmer. "Your choice has broken the curse, Luma, not by binding, but by freeing." And with that, the light burst like dawn, washing over everyone present. When the light faded, the grove was still. The black bark of the ancient tree had turned brown and smooth, its carvings gone. The night wind was soft again, carrying the smell of fresh earth and rain. Then someone gasped. "Look!" Mother Eba pointed. At the tree's base lay Luma, still and pale, her head resting on Tear's lap. "Luma," he whispered, shaking. "Please, open your eyes." His tears fell on her face. "You promise to come back to me. Please don't leave me." A faint breath escaped her lips. Then her eyes fluttered open. The villagers cried out in joy. "She lives!" Nika shouted. Luma blinked up at Tear and smiled weakly. "You look different," she murmured. And he did. The gray cracks on his skin were gone. His eyes were clear and bright. The mark of the curse had vanished. "It's over," she said softly. "The spirits told me. The curse is broken, not transferred. They said what's chosen in love cannot be bound by fear." Mother Eba fell to her knees, overwhelmed. 3 generations of blood and sorrow," she said, her voice trembling. "And all it took was truth and choice. Not a sacrifice, but a willing heart." The cursed families began removing their amulets, one by one. The marks on their bodies faded like mist. Some wept, others laughed, others simply stared at their hands in disbelief. The grove, once filled with dread, now glowed with peace. Even the trees seemed to breathe. Chief Nami approached his daughter slowly. He knelt beside her and placed his hand on her head. "You are braver than any warrior, my child," he said. "You faced the spirits and returned. You have done what even the chiefs of old could not." Luma smiled faintly. "I only did what was right." Nao, Tear's mother, came forward next. She fell before Luma and clasped her hands. "You saved my son. You saved all of us. May the spirits honor your name forever." Doro stood apart, his pride broken. His eyes, once sharp with arrogance, were full of regret. He bowed his head and spoke quietly. I was wrong, he said. Fear made me blind. I took lives to save my own. I see now that truth was the key all along. Luma looked at him kindly. Then let your repentance be your offering, she said. Teach your people what fear cost you, so no man repeats it. For the first time, Doro nodded without argument. The villagers began to sing softly, a song of freedom and remembrance. Their voices rose like smoke into the moonlight. Luma and Ter sat together beneath the once-cursed tree, their hands clasped. You saved me, Ter whispered. No, she said gently. You saved me first, when you chose honor over deceit. He looked at her with wonder. I nearly lost you, and yet here we are, she replied, her eyes shining. Alive, whole, free. As dawn touched the horizon, Mother Ibe raised her staff one last time. Let it be known, she declared, that the curse of the bound bloodline is ended. Not through fear, but through love. Not through silence, but through truth. Let this grove, once forbidden, now be sacred to all who seek peace. The villagers knelt, bowing their heads. The spirits' voices whispered faintly in the wind, a blessing carried on the morning air. 3 days later, under a bright sun, the grove became the site of a new celebration. Drums rolled through the forest as Luma and Ter stood before the same tree, now living in green. This time there was no fear in their hearts, only joy. They exchanged vows before the elders and their families. Chief Nami poured libations, thanking the spirits for mercy and courage. Nika, smiling through tears, tied the coral beads around Luma's wrists and said, This time you are bound to life, not death. The feast that followed lasted till the stars returned. Children danced around the fire, and elders told the story already becoming legend. Nao sat beside her son with pride. Her exile finally ended. Doro watched them quietly, humbled but grateful. You have your mother's heart, he told Ter softly. Forgive me, my son. Ter placed a hand on his shoulder. I already have, he said. Let us live in the truth Luma fought for. When the music slowed, Ter drew Luma aside beneath the glowing branches. You gave up everything, he said. You could have walked away. She smiled. And leave a curse to torment others? No, Ter. I chose love. I chose freedom for all of us. He kissed her hands reverently. Then I will spend the rest of my life proving worthy of that choice. You already are, she whispered. The seasons changed, and the grove became a place of pilgrimage. People from far lands came to see the tree that once held a curse, but now bloomed year-round. They brought offerings, not of fear, but gratitude, flowers, woven baskets, carvings of the moon. The elders told visitors, this is where love broke the oldest chain. The children of Amira grew up hearing Luma's name spoken with reverence, and the story passed into song. Sometimes on quiet evenings, Luma would sit with Nika by the riverside. They would watch the fireflies rise and speak softly about that night. Do you ever fear the spirits will call you again? Nika asked once. Luma smiled. No, the spirits taught me that love is their greatest language. They are not to be feared, only respected. Nika nodded slowly. Then you have truly changed everything. Luma gazed at the stars. Not I alone, she said. All who choose truth over fear are part of that change. Years later, when Luma's first daughter was born, she named her Xena, meaning light. During the naming ceremony, Ter lifted the baby and said, May this child grow in truth. May her heart be strong like her mother's, and her love clear like the morning. The villagers cheered, and Chief Nami smiled proudly. The bloodline once cursed now thrived in peace, its sons and daughters free from the shadows that haunted their ancestors. As time went on, the story of the bride who dared to follow became a lesson told across the Igbo lands. Mothers whispered it to their children at night. When your heart warns you, listen. When truth calls you, speak. And when love demands courage, do not hide. The elders added, for curses born of fear can only be broken by love freely given. And in every retelling, Luma's name lived, bright as moonlight through the trees. And so it is said that the grove still glows faintly on nights of the full moon. The wind carries the laughter of spirits at peace. The villagers who pass by swear they sometimes hear two voices, one male, one female, singing softly together beneath the sacred tree. And those who listen closely say the song's words are always the same. Love is stronger than fear, and truth brighter than darkness. Thus ended the tale of Luma, the bride who dared to follow,